and they come at you and say, yeah, well, I'm cheaper, and that person's just charging more because of whatever, let it go over the shoulder. There's a place for you in your market. There's a place for them in your market. I mean, I'm in a place where I am in New Jersey where so I don't photograph weddings. I take one wedding a year just to keep in it, but it's always a very special wedding. I can explain what I mean in a little bit if you're curious what I mean by that. But I mainly do families. I used to do headshots a lot, and predominantly now it's proposals, surprise proposals, and but like when it comes to families, there's photographers in my area doing $100 photo sessions for families. Like, no joke, it's 2024 and they're still doing this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Don't try to take don't try to stoop to where they are just because. Stick your ground and keep control over yourself. So that's my advice.
Yeah, and that is great advice. That is something that is definitely a learned discipline. Definitely something that it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people, because it is like that. Especially if someone's attacking you or talking behind your back to other people about like, oh well, they're too expensive, or what are they even doing with those prisms and stuff. Like that's not photography. That's like playing with toys and whatever, and like different things that I've heard through the industry. And yeah, it's very easy to become defensive and just be like, well, no, but I'm doing this, or this is the reason. I can list out 25 different bullet points of why I charge what I charge, and instead like that ability to have that self-control, and just like something that I always ask myself is like, if I get upset about this, if I like fight back about this, is it going to change anything? Like, is it going to be better for me, better for them, better for anyone else? Probably not. Then I'm not going to do that. Right. I'm just going to like, it doesn't matter. Their words don't hold value. So just kind of moving on. And yeah, I think that's great. So yeah, I'm glad. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a good question or not, but I was curious, and that was
I mean,
I love that.
The interesting thing is I could talk about this for days and days and days. Before I joined the school, so I joined the school. Unfortunately, my progression got delayed between two different surgeries and unrelated to karate, and the pandemic pushed me back big time. Right, that's 3 years of delay basically. I'm on the cusp of black belt. I should have been a black belt about 3 years ago. But before I even joined, I had the original creator of the school, who started the school in the early 70s. I photographed before he passed. He wrote his second book, and he asked me he hired me to photograph his book. 20,000 photos. Guy's very meticulous. 20,000 photos shot, all tethered for the book. Not all were used, but like we were to cull it down for what he needed. It went from 20,000 probably down to about 700 in the end, somewhere around there. But you're talking like he wanted a hand to be here versus here, right? Like it was like
just like
minor
that
things.
Slight angle difference.
Exactly.
Oh man,
so that's the meticulous aspect. But during the process of doing this, the photographs, and I was blogging heavily and teaching, while I actually said to him, hey, can we do a ebook together where I take a photo from the sessions, from all these sessions, and I write, you tell me about it from the karate standpoint, and I write about it from the photography standpoint. And so we put a whole ebook together. I don't have it available anymore. I took it off my website, but it's a whole ebook about the lessons learned from karate to photography, which at the time I was not practicing karate at all. But then I joined the school after.
Okay. That was before you even joined. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he actually wrote the karate part, and I wrote the photography part.
That is really cool.
Yep.
I love that. I love the intermingling of just like everyday life of other things and then incorporating that into your photography, into your business, all
Yeah.
of that. I feel like that is, I've trained myself to do that so much now that it's almost a little bit annoying, where I'm just like walking down the street and then I'll see something like, oh, that's really good marketing for this, and like the way that they use this phrase, and
Yeah.
like that caught my eye, and I can do this, and or with
Mhm.
photography and just like seeing light everywhere. I'm just like,
Yep.
oh man, I would love to just like put someone in the corner over here with that window shade, and yeah, it is. That's really cool. That's a very interesting. I'm glad that he said yes about that too,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
about collabing on that ebook.
Yeah. Yeah. I was surprised.
Yeah, yeah. That, I mean, that's awesome. That, like, you shot your shot and was like, okay, so I would be surprised if he says yes, but like this is a big thing
Yeah.
when you do this, because you could have easily just been like, he's probably not going to say yes.
Yeah.
He's writing this book and 20,000 frames, and like this is a big deal, and who am I,
Yep.
and all that.
So
But
I
like
mean
the
the only stipulation was I couldn't charge for it. So it was free. That was it.
okay, yeah,
Yeah. He didn't want me to make money off of his stuff from that standpoint. So I was like, all right. No,
understandable, yeah.
so
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Um, awesome. Okay, Scott. I know we've
yeah.
we've already dove in. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're
Yeah.
based, what you do, all that. We kind of like touched a little bit on photography. You mentioned
Yep.
Imagine.
Yep.
What all do you do?
Yeah, yeah. So I've been a photographer since the early 2000s. Went to college for it. And my entire life basically brought me to Imagine. Like I feel like everything I've done in life has to get me where I am right now. But I've been professional photographer since the early 2000s. As I mentioned, photographing families, headshots. I've done cake smashes. More recently, during the pandemic, my business organically shifted to proposals. It was a very strange shift, but it worked out for the best. I'm very particular about what clients to take on because
Mm,
I have a full time job at Imagine, and I'm the community manager. I also host our podcast at Imagine. So I don't need to take on photography work, but I still want to. I still love to do it, so I still do it. I'm just picky about what I take, and what I don't want to take, I refer to friends, which is a nice ability. To be able to do that is a very cool thing. Um,
oh yeah,
so yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Father of two, husband of one.
nice. Awesome. Yeah, I no, I love that like you're at a place where you can pick and choose. I know a lot of people are just like,
Yeah.
any lead that comes in, I will do this. Whatever
Mm,
whatever you're needing, you're gonna pay me. I will take photos. And when there's like a certain point in your business where you're getting so many leads that you can start saying no and kind of
mm,
being picky and choosy. Um, and like I like that. I mean, you mentioned earlier you shoot like one wedding a year, and
yep.
it's got to be something special, something different. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I like that. It's something that 10 years ago, John couldn't imagine being at a place where I would be like, I don't think we're a good fit. I'm gonna send you over to so and so that
Yep.
does more editorial style stuff, and
Yeah.
like she's gonna be amazing, and you're
Yeah.
gonna enjoy your photos more with her than me. And 10 years ago, I was just like, I just need anyone, anyone
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
with money who needs photos. I will take them.
Yeah. I'm also in a position where like I'm even looking at my schedule for the week, and okay, if I'm doing 4 days of podcast recordings, for example, right?
Hmm.
And I've got meetings back to back to back all during the week as well. Do I want to take this job on the weekend after I've been so, conversational and so on every single
Right.
day? Or do I want to just pass on it, refer to a friend, I'll take the next one potentially.
Yeah.
So like there's so many different factors that go in right now of what do I take and why. Um, and either way, whether I'm taking it or whether a friend's taking it, someone's winning. So it's
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
It's a
Yeah,
good problem to have.
It is, and it's great to have that community and that networking where
Yeah.
you can refer those to people and not just be like, oh nope, sorry, I'm booked, and
Yeah.
then just leave them at that. You're still
Yeah.
like serving these leads that are coming in by
Yeah. Yeah.
leading them on to your friends.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it makes you look good for your photography business if you're basically turning down a potential job, but at the same time referring to somebody who's potentially local to where the client is or where the job might be, um and still help them out in the end. So
Yeah, yeah, and the lead also feels like it's like reading, 5-star reviews. It's that referral of, oh, Scott said that this person is good, so I wanted to hire Scott. He's not able to take me right now. I'm going to trust in his judgment that this other person is going to do well. And yeah, it's just it's a win-win all around
mhm.
for
Yep,
everyone involved. So
totally.
I love it. Okay, I really want to get into to AI.
Sure.
Am very interested in all of this, and I know I'm sure that you hear this all the time, just like misconceptions about
Yep.
AI where people are just like, oh, well, this is, AI can't do this, or
Yeah.
it's doing this thing, or it's going to, ruin the photography industry. Um, what are some misconceptions that you
Yeah.
hear pretty often being, community manager at
Yeah.
Imagen AI?
I think there's three very, very, very common ones. The first being that it's not secure, right?
Mm,
That's not all photographers care about security in deep levels, high levels, whatever you might want to call it. But there are some genres, of course, that care about it more than other genres, right? Um,
yeah.
so uh, the first one for sure is that it's not secure, and I think yeah, of course, it like any AI, right? So we're talking about AI in general. It depends on what AI you're using. Okay, um,
Hmm.
there are going to be AIs that are training the algorithm overall, right? There's AI that is going to be whatever you do will be used to train another person's work, right? Um, that's not the case at Imagine, but
Yeah.
again, we're talking AI in general.
Yeah.
I would say the second is that it's going to take our jobs. This is probably something that we hear quite often at Imagine, but it's something that we see in all aspects. I mean, look at the Screenwriters Guild went on strike for quite some time
Yeah.
because AI. They were worried that AI is going to take all the writers' jobs. Sure, it might still in the future. You never know. Anything's possible. I doubt it will. I doubt it will for
Hmm.
that. I doubt it will for photographers. Yes, there will be some photographers that um, it will take some jobs from. Right, there are some genres that are more at risk than others, but
Hmm.
there are some genres where it could help where others it can't. So here's a good example of both. Headshot photographers probably the most at risk for their jobs being taken. I don't think it will 100%. I really don't. There's still going to be people who want a human to do the work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but I do think there will be a lot of people who will just say, "Oh, I can take these photos from my phone, throw them into AI, and now I have my headshots." Right?
Mm. Yeah.
So I think we'll see both in the future for that, more heavily. But on the side that
Yeah.
it definitely won't, wedding photographers are safe. Event photographers are safe, and here's why: because there are services that you can drop in a photo of a bride and groom, and it will literally create a wedding out of it with AI, right? But
Hmm.
most brides and grooms are not going to do that. The ones that will do that are the ones that physically or financially could not have a real wedding,
Right.
right? So you're
Yeah.
talking two people who are maybe extremely disabled. There was no wedding venue in town to have a accessible wedding, which is wrong in itself. But
Right.
hypothetically, that's the situation. They couldn't physically have a real wedding, in person type of situation with guests. So instead, they threw everything into AI, and now they have a wedding that they can do. Or they couldn't afford a wedding, and they did a church, a church, a courthouse thing because they could not afford
Mm-hmm.
anything else, but they wanted to have a traditional wedding virtually, so they did it with
Yeah,
AI, right? So
yeah,
there's going to be some
yeah.
but I don't think it's going to replace wedding photographers at all.
I agree. Yeah, I think like to your point for both of those, it's kind
Hmm.
of like um, the very bottom of the market, like
Hmm.
below budget. It's just like they probably weren't going to hire a photographer anyway because
Right.
there are thousands of weddings happening every day that they don't hire a photographer
Yep.
because either budget wise or it's just not a priority to them, which
Yep.
my mind doesn't understand because I'm a photographer and I'm like, how can that not be a priority? But like there are people that is not a
Yeah.
priority and they're like, yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna live in the moment and we'll remember this, it's cool.
Yeah.
And the same with like headshots. I feel like the headshot photographers that would take out would be the ones who, uh, the people who are just like, maybe I'll just take a selfie and use this as a headshot
Yep.
for whatever I need for my job or something like that. Or they're hiring someone off of Craigslist for $15 or something like
Yeah.
that, and that they would just be like, oh yeah, I have these selfies. I can just throw them into AI generator. Boom! I have uh, these headshots, and maybe I have to crop my hands out of it because I have 7 fingers. But
Yep.
it looks enough like me. It's
Yeah.
gonna work for what I
Yeah.
need. And they're not looking for that experience. And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing that people forget about whenever they're talking about AI taking our jobs is
Yeah.
you bring that human experience, you bring your brand, your client experience to the table that throwing a couple photos into an AI image generator to generate a photo of a couple, mountainside in Colorado when they got married at a courthouse. Um, you're going to give that experience of, oh yeah, I know the best place to go. I will wake up at 3 a.m. with you and hike to this place and take the photos, and like that's a whole experience that
Yep.
cannot be replicated, and you're
Yeah.
you're not going to lose.
Yep. I do think there's one more misconception that is borderline scary, but also
Mm.
very unlikely to actually happen. Is that AI will destroy all life as we know it? Which, yes, Terminator, we've all
Yeah,
seen it. Fantastic
we've
movie.
seen the movies.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't think. Yes, there is a chance that we could, as humans, code AI to do that, but I think we are smart enough to put um, the proper measures in place to prevent it. And I think that's where OpenAI is
Yeah.
working on now, because like they haven't
Mm-hmm.
dropped ChatGPT 5 yet. And I think the reason why is because it is getting closer and closer to real human processes, and they need to
Yeah.
put the proper blockers in place to prevent
Right.
malicious stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah. Or like, what was it? Was it Yahoo? Their AI bot, like started to become sentient, where it was like falling in love with people and
mm,
just like, I want to be with you, and he's like,
yeah,
oh, I am just asking you how many tablespoons are in 4 ounces, and which is how I use our like Siri, and he's like,
right.
wait, how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon again? I know we have this chart somewhere in the kitchen, but I can never remember it. I think
Yeah,
it's um, but uh, but yeah, no, that's definitely a, a misconception that I hear a ton. Is
yeah,
like, I've seen the movies, I know how this ends. We need to stop playing with this.
yep,
And yeah, I think people are smarter than we give them credit for. The people that are putting this together, definitely
yeah.
smarter than me. So, but yeah, with this AI,
Mm.
with these things, once we get past the misconceptions, how can we use AI in our lives, in our businesses?
Yeah. So AI. for the most part, AI as we know it is mainly machine learning, right? It's the
Mhm.
computer processes where it's learning from itself and all of its data and just gets better and better and better, uses more data. Um, so with that said, you know, we are using it already in our photography businesses, in our lives on an ongoing basis. Some of which we know, some of which we may not know. So a good example is TTL. How long have you been using TTL in
Oh
your
yeah.
strobes?
Oh yeah, years.
So
Like from the beginning, because I was like, this is easy. It's pretty much like
yeah,
auto. I don't have to think about like
right.
manually setting my flashes, and yeah.
Yeah. So that's machine learning. Like it's not AI as like Imagine, right? But it's machine learning. It
Right.
is your camera using real-time data, talking to your flash, talking back to your camera, saying, okay, you guys are communicating. I can see how far away the flash is. I can see how, you know, what lens you're using, what your aperture is, what your ISO is, and here's what the flash needs to fire at based on all these different data points. Machine learning, right? Um,
Hmm.
so we're already using that in our lives, and we have been for far longer than the term AI has been trending in the world, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's one. I mean, think about autofocus, right? Again, um, autofocus pre mirrorless cameras was more hardware based than software based. Um, autofocus now is predominantly software based, and it's
Yeah.
using eyes and faces and
Hmm.
animal faces or animal eyes or cars driving by or airplanes over the sky. It's using and detecting all these different objects and things to pinpoint what to autofocus on. Or in some cameras, in some cases, using your eye and where you look through the EVF to determine where to focus,
Oh yeah.
right? That's AI, that's
Yeah.
machine learning. Um, so there's those. Of course, the most popular these days is ChatGPT and Gemini. Google,
Hmm.
it was called Bard, then they renamed it to Gemini, much better name. So
Yes.
like,
100%.
you know, so many of us are using that in our lives and our businesses already. Some maybe just a tiny bit, but I think, you know, we're going to see um, more and more adoption with this. I mean, even Apple is probably in iOS 18. We're going to see more of a ChatGPT style thing included into Siri of some sort. I'm sure.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, I
Um,
even noticed this week. I don't know if it's a
mm,
new release or anything. I don't keep up to date. Like I don't
mm,
follow Adam. What's his name? Morosi or something, the Instagram CEO. But like the whenever I went to go search something on Instagram, like the Explore page, it came up
mm.
with the Meta AI,
Meta AI.
to where
Yeah.
you can type into AI there. I don't really know. I haven't played around with that, but I saw that earlier this week and was like, oh yeah, like they're integrating AI into
Yeah.
our social media more
Yep.
because like algorithm is also machine learning of like
Yep.
how long are you even just like hovering and looking at this photo.
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
like how many seconds are you watching this reel? Like, should I show you another reel from this creator or in the same genre? And it's like it is constantly learning and
Yeah.
figuring out what to send you next to keep you there because they just want you to stay on your phone all day, which
Yep.
makes sense in a business standpoint, but
Yeah.
is very detrimental to my life.
Yeah. In fact, like YouTube, for you know, I know not everybody's gonna be familiar with being a YouTuber and creating YouTube
Hmm.
content, but at least from the viewing standpoint, more people are familiar with. For years, Google has been saying YouTube does not have an algorithm. It's not an algorithm to determine how to rank and how to get your video shown to people.
Hmm.
YouTube's algorithm is AI, and it is learning from everybody's behaviors on YouTube to push them more content that they're going more likely to consume. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's another area that I didn't even have on my list, but I'm glad you brought up the Meta AI, but because that is another area that that has been in our lives for a long time. You know, Google has owned YouTube for years and years at this point, and
Hmm.
this AI has been part of their um, the YouTube SEO, whatever you want to call it, for a long time. So, but then there's some new
Yeah.
ones. PickTime. PickTime added people search using AI and
Yeah.
gallery creation using AI. So you can send your gallery to the guests with, and you know, it'll already have the faces detected, but then your guests can go in and say, you know, this is me, but I also want to. So I'm the father of the bride, let's say, and I want a
Hmm.
picture with me and my daughter as at its own gallery, and then it's all done. It's all AI doing it for you instead of you having
Yeah.
to do it as the photographer.
Yeah, which is great because getting those requests, I'm like, oh, I delivered like 900 photos. Now I have to go through
Yeah.
find each one, and yeah,
Yeah.
that is it is amazing. The
Yep.
like in and even doing that for other vendors and just being like, yeah, all of the floral details, just like
Yeah.
type that in, and then it
Yep.
just filters through. Now we have all of the floral details in one gallery, and I can send it off to the florist, and they don't have to cipher through and see which ones they want to use, and you know all of
Yep.
all the more storytelling photos that are maybe not as useful to them. And yeah, no, it is that I hadn't thought about that one either. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
There's
yeah,
so many more, of course, but you know, I'm always happy to talk about this stuff. I love it.
right. Oh yeah. So like having these already that we are most likely using
Yeah.
in our day to day, what are some steps that people can use to maybe incorporate more intentionally AI into their lives and business, more than just like uh, you know using like a Siri or using Chat GPT, or maybe even some strategic ways to use those devices in AI that we're currently already using, but more
Yeah.
strategic in the business.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, I think people need to not be afraid to try things, right? Just because it says AI, yes, it could be scary to some, but
Yeah.
don't be afraid. You know, the benefits, depending on what it is, the benefits could outweigh the fear factor, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I would suggest looking for tools that are similar to what you're doing now, potentially, that may already have AI integrations that could benefit you and save you time or money. A good example being, I already brought up PickTime, right? So PickTime has their AI, which are smart
Yeah.
AI tools that they have built specifically for their platform that are helpful for you, the photographer, and your clients. But they also deeply integrated with Honeybook, who has their own AI tools. So think about this: you have
Hmm.
PickTime, and then you're using XYZ CRM email marketing platform that does not integrate with PickTime. You could literally set up a trial of PickTime and connect it to set up a trial of Honeybook, connect it to PickTime, and now you've got this deep integration with a CRM and email marketing that can do all these automated workflows. Yes, and PickTime has their own email marketing as well. But like you've got this deep integration, and Honeybook has their own AI that actually does smart analysis of your leads using artificial intelligence. So
Oh,
like that's an area that could potentially save you time and energy um, to replace something you're already using, but just with a tool that is more modernized, right?
hmm.
Uh, of of course, there's also tools like Imagen, right? So Imagen can save you time, and we can um, talk about Imagen whenever you want to talk about it. But you know, that's
Yeah.
another area that can help you in a variety of aspects of your post production as well. Um,
Yeah. Could you give us a little? I mean, the listeners know, Imagine I talk about y'all all the time. But like, could you give us a little rundown for maybe anyone who this is their first episode listening and they're just like, you've
yeah,
mentioned Imagine a couple times. I don't know what this is.
yeah. So Imagen is an AI based post production workflow assistant, basically. So our app as a standalone app that can either speak with Lightroom Classic, Lightroom CC on the local side, Adobe Bridge, and also Adobe ACR inside of Photoshop. And basically what we do is we can do AI culling for your photos. So you can photograph a whole wedding, upload it to Imagen, and our servers will do all the heavy lifting. And coming out very soon, very, very soon, is a whole new upgrade to our culling system called Culling Studio, which I'm very excited about. First teaser is actually in the Imagen community today.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, yeah. And also what we started how Imagen started in 2020 is actually with AI editing. So we learned how photographers edit using the Adobe, the ACR ecosystem. So no matter what Adobe product you're using to edit your photos, we can learn from that. And then once a profile is made, what we call an AI profile, we can then edit for you, like you, in record speeds. So you can go from culling to editing a full wedding in less than 20 minutes, when all said and done. But we also offer.
My favorite thing is just like in
Yeah.
the morning, just uploading a gallery to go edit, and then I will go make coffee. And then by the time I have my coffee, I'm walking back. It's just like I already got the little notification on my phone like, "Hey, your gallery's ready." And I'm like, "This is amazing. This is great."
Yeah, yeah. It is. It's. So we've got built-in profiles, which are really great to use if you don't have an editing style already, or if you're not, very confident in your editing capabilities or whatever. But like the real magic happens when it learns from you and you see us edit just like you would have, and that's that like mind-blowing moment of this actually works. It's one thing to edit like somebody else, but it's another thing to see it edit like you. So the third. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, no, go ahead. I was gonna sing some more praises. It's cool.
The third thing that Imagen does, and there's so much more to come from Imagen, but the third thing that we do, which we launched about a year ago, is cloud backups. So in addition to culling and editing, during that process of you setting to Imagen, you have an optional ability to have us back up your original RAWs. And if you do that, if you opt for that feature, we're also actually backing up your editing. So we're the first and only real, true backup solution designed for photographers, because we're backing up either your entire cold project or just what you sent to edit. And if you have to recover, you're recovering it with your editing in place, instead of just your raw files.
Yes, that has happened. Thankfully, only once, where I like had some hardware or hard drive issues and had to recover from the cloud. And then I was like, okay, well now I've lost all of my edits, and I have to start over from like ground zero, first block, and go through, which added hours and hours, because at that time I was still hand editing every single image, and it's one of the things that has really sold me on Imagen and like kept me around was how, like you said, like it learns from your editing style to edit like you. Instead of like, I've used human editors before, which are great, and but there were times where it came back just like is a little bit different, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't really look like me. Maybe it was like a little bit more bright and airy, and I'm not bright and airy. And I would have to go through and do tweaks and like send in the tweaks that I did, and then they would have to learn from that, and then maybe it didn't really change the next time, and I'd have to do that again. And I do like that, for the first few galleries, it was really like that learning curve of okay, this is what you've told us. Does this look good? And I was like, yeah, this looks pretty good. And then I would do any tweaks, upload it, and then it learns, like fine tunes from there. And just like the way that I'll just receive the photos back, and then some of them, like, I wouldn't have even done that. That looks better than what I would have edited. Okay, this is great. Like I don't have to do like really any tweaks unless I'm doing like some crazy, double exposure artsy stuff. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that with you and with the listeners, just about that learning process with
Yeah.
Imagen.
Yeah. Even though it's AI, there is that sort of human element to it where,
Hmm.
depending on what it was trained on, like, you're human, you're inconsistent. AI is
Oh yeah.
almost perfect. It still can make mistakes, but it still has to learn from what it learns from you. So if you're inconsistent, it can produce inconsistency. So it just has to get better and better and better. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's one fine tune and it's perfect. Sometimes it takes people three fine tunes and it's perfect. So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I actually, whenever I first started with y'all, I had an old laptop that the screen had started to uh, it wasn't very accurate with the colors, but I didn't know
mhm,
that because it was like the frog in the boiling water. It was just like over an 8 year period got worse and worse, but it still looked fine to me because it was a slow progression.
mhm,
And I was editing on that and then sending to an old Imagine profile that I don't use anymore, and I would get them back and they looked great on my computer, and then like uploading them, sending them to the client to my phone, everything was like a little bit green, and I figured out it was actually my computer. And then I was like, oh, I'm just gonna like that was my mistake, but Imagine was still like, this is what you want. I will give you these green photos.
yeah,
It is cool. This is what you have uploaded. I will send it right back to you. And now I have a whole different profile, which looks amazing on all the different screens, and I have a new computer. It's cool. But yeah, okay. Could you give us like maybe a couple last tips about uh, or anything you kind of want to like wrap us up with
mm.
about AI and incorporating that into our lives?
Yeah. So I'm going to assume, even though I should never assume, that most photographers are using Google Workspace for their emails, right? For their domains, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, you're basically using Gmail with your own domain on it. If you are, consider using their AI features to autocomplete emails for you and things like that. Um, it's not going to fully write for you, but there's little things that it does in their smart compose or whatever they call that feature to help you finish writing emails faster. So if I'm writing, hey John,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to suggest your name, and all I have to do is hit tab, and it fills in the words, and then I hit enter, and then I can say I hope you're having and then it'll say a great weekend. Hit tab, and it wrote. I don't, like those little bits, those
Yeah.
seconds of typing savings add up. So when I said like don't try not to be afraid of everything, there are some free things. If you're already using Gmail, this is available to you. There are some free things that you could just turn on that will save you that little bit of time,
Mm-hmm.
that just add up. So that's one thing. Um, I don't know. There's so many things that we could talk about.
I
To
know.
to
Yeah, we
wrap.
could go on for another hour and a half for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something that just like popped in my head with you talking about how like there are these free things.
Yeah.
There's easy ways that we could you could just be like, see that like, do you want to say hey John, and be like, I'm just gonna type it,
Yeah.
and like this is how I've always done it. I'm just gonna do this. It's cool. I can type my own emails. I know it's gonna take this long, or whatever the AI that you have out there at your access. Like there's always going to be that learning curve at the beginning of trying something new. Any new tool out there, even whenever we went, like I went from dating myself now, but like going from paper contracts to having a digital contract in my CRM, like that was a learning curve because I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I got to transpose all of this and put it in here and make sure that this is legal and whatever. And like all of that, I could have said, no, paper's good. I'll just mail it to them. They can sign it, mail it back. I'll scan it in the computer and like go through this whole process that takes like 2 weeks. Or you can go through that little bit of a learning curve, where you're trying something new, you're implementing a new tool, and then the amount of time that it saves you is like that 0 point of like amount of time spent learning this to the amount of time that it saves you,
Mhm.
with a lot of these AI tools is going to be pretty soon. And
Yeah.
then you're just going to be receiving all of this like free time, which is the one resource we can't really create, but in a way we can kind of create it. Like I have a lot of different AI tools and uh, oh, what is the word? I wanted to say allegory. That is definitely not it. It's an A word, of automations. There you go.
Mhm.
Like I have these automations set up in my business to where I don't have to be
Yeah.
repeating and doing the same thing over and
Yeah.
over again, and it's automated in a way that it is uh, like me, how I'm doing it, but then I
Yep.
can focus on other things
Yeah.
to scale the business or to play GoldenEye 007 that I recently got for my
It's all
Nintendo
about Call of Duty. It's
64.
all about
It's Call of Duty, yeah. Oh man, the new one.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
but yeah, like these are tools that it may take a little bit to learn, and it may take a little bit
Yeah.
extra of your time to get the tool down. But then
Yeah.
once you have this under your belt, it is just you're reaping extra time, more
Yeah.
hours.
I actually have one more tool that I want to recommend to photographers. Actually, it's technically it's two options, but
Okay.
at the end of the day they can do the same thing. Um, so there's two tools that will help photographers when they have their initial meeting, whether in person or virtually, um, or they're doing their IPS calls or in person,
Mm-hmm.
right, physically or virtually again. The
Yeah.
two tools I would recommend, one is Cast Magic. Okay, so Cast Magic actually came out for podcasts originally, but they're
Okay.
starting to expand to YouTube videos and to call recordings and things like that, where you have these basically unlimited amounts of prompts that you can save for each recording space. So I have a recording space for the Workflows Photography podcast. I have a space for the Imagen YouTube channel for my own stuff, for my client calls, whatever it might be. And you can have different prompts for different spaces. And if I record a call for my phone,
Mm-hmm.
it immediately goes into Cast Magic. I can open it up on the computer, and basically I can do one of two things. One, copy and paste from any of the results from any of the prompts that I have pre-made. So let's say it's an IPS call. It's like, okay, what were the album pages that they picked out? Just just to summarize in case you forgot something, or like what were some
Mm-hmm.
takeaways that basically it's a note taker without you physically taking notes. Um,
Mm.
and so that way you can just focus on that face-to-face engagement instead of having to be there with a notepad and or an iPad and writing stuff. Let it
Right.
record and then just give you. The other part of Cast
Mm.
Magic is also having a chat GPT style chat discussion. So you say, if there's not something you need on a regular basis in the prompt, you can come up with a prompt on the fly and say, from this recording, what was this? And gives you that. Um, so that's Cast
That's
Magic.
cool.
I use it
Okay.
for everything.
Yeah,
But
that sounds like a
there's a
great
new
tool.
tool that I'm currently testing called Voice Notes. It's actually voicenotes.com. Very easy to remember.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't know how much it went up, but they had a $50 once forever price that I bought in on because I was like, okay, if it's a cool price. And it's a
Yeah.
similar way, except it's not saved prompts. It's just it records it and then you chat with it to get what you need. So it's like a simpler version of Cast Magic.
Mm-hmm.
But still, you can have an in-person thing, open it up on your app, on your phone, hit record, and just have your call, and then or your meeting, and then again, not take notes. Let it take notes for you, basically.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Cool. Cast
Okay.
Magic
Yep.
and
Voice notes.
Voice Notes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. I'm gonna have links to both of those in the show notes for everyone. And I am going to go check them out as soon as we finish this conversation because those sound amazing.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, Scott, this has been great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this conversation. Before we kind of get into where people can follow you, listen to your
Mhm.
podcasts, all of that, there's part of the show that I like to do where we talk about what we're loving this week. It could
Mhm.
be literally anything, new, book, TV show, movie, whatever. Um, what are you loving this week?
Okay, I got two for you.
Okay, cool.
So one, actually I got three for you. um,
Cool. Bring them.
uh, yeah, yeah. Okay, so one is so my wife and I used to watch This Is Us, right? That was very popular on TV for quite
Yes.
some time.
Uh
One of
huh.
the actors who was on um man, which he was on, he was the Green Arrow in one of the shows. It was like one of the Superman shows
Oh,
or something a while back.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was not
I don't
it was
remember
not
his
the
name.
recent Green Arrow, it was the one before
The
it.
old,
But
yes.
yeah. Yeah, so the actor from This Is Us was also the Green
Okay.
Arrow in one of the Superman shows. Um he has a new show called Tracker, and it's basically
Yeah.
like it's so good. It's so good. I love it. So that's one thing I've been binging that.
Okay. I have
And
heard
I
good
am
things about it,
yeah.
but I have not. I don't know if I'm just like in a different like ad algorithm right now, but like I haven't seen any trailers, any ads, or anything for Tracker. I just hear people talking about it. So, but it sounds cool.
It is.
So I'm
It's
definitely
good.
gonna check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a very fit person, so he fits this like outdoorsy tracker persona pretty well. So
Yeah.
the other
Okay.
thing
Cool.
I happen to have one in front of me is House of Macadamia.
Ooh.
So it's an entire like energy bar or I got another one,
Mm.
or raw
Oh,
macadamia
nice.
nuts that
Okay.
just they're so good.
Like different flavors. Is that
Different
one?
flavors.
Was the
Yeah.
blue one
So
like a coconut something?
yeah, so this the blue one's a chocolate coconut, and then these are
Mm.
just sea salt, but I mean there's chili and all sorts of different good flavors. So that's another thing. Um,
Okay.
and I know I just talked about recording meetings, but this one is like sort of the anti of that. So
Okay.
the weather's now nice. I'm in New Jersey. It's now 82 degrees outside. Most beautiful day we've had in weeks. Um,
Yeah.
and my new thing is if I don't have to be on camera, or like show my screen in a meeting, I am throwing in
Mm.
my AirPods and I'm going for a long walk through the park while I have a meeting.
Yeah.
Just so fresh air, nice weather, and you think better when you're moving. So,
Oh yeah.
um, so that's my new thing that I started doing now that the weather's starting to get nicer and nicer, and I plan on continuing as long as I possibly can until the snow comes.
Yeah. 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 No, that is great. I love any days where the weather is nice. I'm just like I just want to be outside
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yep.
And yeah, there's something about just like being out in nature and just like getting your feet in the grass and taking a walk and hearing the birds and just having getting some sun on your face
Yep.
while you're on a phone call, while you're in a meeting, while you're brainstorming some ideas for whatever you're doing. It's just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this outside instead of like sitting in this windowless office that I have.
Exactly. Yeah. My
So
only window is
yeah,
way back there, and it's very small.
yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. I love all those. I'm definitely going to check out those macadamia nuts
Mm,
because those sound like a really great, just like little snack. Just have a bowl over here while I'm working.
yep.
Uh, there's something similar with just like the some different flavored peanuts at a
Yeah.
local Texas grocery store, HEB. They have some, and I really like the chili lemon ones that are just like they're the right amount of spice without it being like, okay, now it's
Yeah.
burning, but it's just like it's enough spice to where it's got that little tingle, but then you have
Yeah.
the lime, and yeah, it's really good. Okay, let's see. What am I loving this week? Oh, I'm loving a show. I think it's on Prime Video. Yeah, it's on Prime. It's called Night Sky,
Okay.
and I really had no idea what it was. I just saw it follows J.K. Simmons and Sissy Spacek, and they are just this older couple, and I like both of them as actors. So I was like, all right, cool. This sounds interesting. It looks interesting. It's like a sci-fi kind of movie
Yeah.
or a TV
I just
show,
pulled it
but
up. I just pulled it up so I can.
okay.
Yeah. I'm
It's
gonna add this to the list.
yeah, it's really good if you like sci-fi, but also drama
Mm.
and a little bit of. Well, I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, it's really interesting, and like every couple episodes, there was a new little twist or something else
Mm.
like inserted into the story that was just like, oh wait, I thought I had this figured out, and now this is happening. I don't
I love
understand,
when that
and like
happens.
how it all comes together, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting. I hope that they have a season two because it did kind of leave us on a cliffhanger at the end of season one. But yeah, very interesting show. I liked that the main characters were older actors because I think they're both probably 60s 70s
Hmm.
somewhere in there. But yeah, very interesting show. It's on Prime, Night Sky. So
Cool.
yeah, well,
Definitely gonna check
cool.
that out.
Scott, tell us
Yeah.
where the listeners can find you, where they can follow along, listen to your podcasts, all those
Yeah.
things.
So my website is scottwyden.com. I'm Scott Wyden everywhere. And Imagine is imagineai.com. And of course, our podcast is called the Workflows Photography Podcast. And that can be listened wherever you're listening to this one right now. You can find that one. So definitely check that out. It's a great one if you're looking for ways to improve your workflow from wherever it is
Mhm.
in your business. That's what our show's about.
Awesome. Well, sweet. Yeah, I will have links for everyone. Go follow Scott. Go check out the podcast and all that. But yeah, well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed getting to chat with you.
Yeah, thank you. It's this was a good one.
Yeah, yeah, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. And I'll see you next time for another live episode. Bye, y'all.